Okay, so we're just continuing our notes from yesterday. There was one last thing that I needed to show you. No, Daniela? No, not here?
No, no Danny today.
So what happens if the terminal side is on an axis? Meaning SOHCAHTOA is not going to work. So anytime the terminal side is on an axis, we're not going to use SOHCAHTOA. What we are going to use is the unit circle. So what do I mean when I say use the unit circle? Well, we'll set up our axes. And basically what a unit circle is a circle with a radius of 1. Unit circle is a circle with a radius of 1. So where it crosses the x-axis will be the point 1, 0. Where it crosses the y-axis on top will be the point 0, 1. Where it crosses the negative x-axis will be negative 1, 0. And where it crosses the negative y-axis will be the point 0, negative 1. That is our unit circle. Now, if we're looking at our angle measurements, remember the starting point is always the positive side of the x-axis. So this is our 0 degrees, and then it would also be our full circle, which is 360 degrees. What do you think the positive y-axis is going to be? How many degrees? Any guesses? I heard it. 90. It was 90. Right? Doesn't that make a perfect right angle? All right, what do you think the full from 0 to the negative y-axis, negative x-axis, I mean, 180, that's a straight angle, so that's 180. And then from 0 all the way to the negative y-axis will be how many degrees? 270. You want to memorize this. You want to memorize every part of this. You want to memorize the 0, 360, the 90, the 180, the 270, and you also want to memorize the points on the unit circle, the 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1. You want to memorize that whole idea of this. So now if I say, using the unit circle, find the 6 trig functions of 90 degrees. So when I say the 6 trig functions, what do I mean? I mean sine of 90. What's the reciprocal of sine? Do you remember? What's the reciprocal of sine? Cosecant. So I want the sine of 90. I want the cosecant of 90. I want the cosine of 90. What's the reciprocal of cosine? Secant. I want the secant of 90. I want the tangent of 90. What's the reciprocal of tangent? Cotangent. I want the cotangent of 90. So when I say find the 6 or find all, I want those. That's what I'm asking for. Now, do we all agree 90 degrees is on the y-axis? Right? Its terminal side is on the y-axis. Normally, we would draw the angle, like if I said 40 degrees or something, and we would then use SOHCAHTOA or do whatever it is. But we're not able to, because right now, the 90 degrees is all the way here, up here. But there was another way. If you remember, we had said, okay, well, we can use SOHCAHTOA to find the trig functions, but I also said that sine was not only opposite over hypotenuse, but you guys remember I also said that it was y over r. Do you all remember that? Uh-oh, hold on, Dean's calling me, 1 second.
Hi, Dean. What's going on?
Yes, you are. Right. Okay. So if you guys remember, back over here, where was it? I'm going back to our notes. Do you guys see how we said sine was y over r, the cosecant was r over y? Do you guys remember that? We didn't only use opposite and hypotenuse, adjacent hypotenuse. We also used y and r's. Why did I do that? That was going back to the right triangle, but that also helps us when we have our unit circle. So if we're using the unit circle, we go to the 90 degrees. At the 90 degrees, do we all agree the point is 0, 1 at 90 degrees? Well, every coordinate is x comma y. And because we're on the unit circle, what is the radius? How long is the radius from the center to any point on the circle? 1 unit long, because it's the unit circle. So radius on the unit circle is always 1. So when I say find the sine of 90, we're not going to use opposite over hypotenuse because we don't have that. Because it's the right angle, we don't have an opposite versus hypotenuse. But what we are going to use is the y over r. So the y coordinate, what's the y coordinate at 90 degrees? 1 over the radius, which is 1. So the sine of 90 degrees will be 1 over 1, which is just 1. Now the cosecant, isn't the cosecant just the reciprocal of sine? Well, what's the reciprocal of 1? Just 1. So the cosecant of 90 is also 1. All right, now let's move on to the cosine of 90. Remember, cosine we know is a over h, but when we're on the unit circle, when we're doing one of the angles on the actual axes, we can't use adjacent and hypotenuse. So what do we use? It's not going to be a over h, it's going to be, Nico? X over r, you got it. So we go to our 90 degrees. And we look, okay,
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
What is the x-coordinate of 90 degrees on our unit circle? Isn't it 0? And what's the radius on every unit circle? 1. So our cosine of 90 is going to be 0 divided by 1, or 0 over 1. And what's 0 divided by any number? 0. So this is cosine of 90 is 0.
Well, how do you know the radius?
Oh, because it's the unit circle, the radius is the distance from the center to any rim. And what's the distance from the center to the rim? 1 unit all the way around. All right, secant of 90. Isn't secant the reciprocal of cosine? So the secant of 90 is going to be 1 over 0. But are we ever allowed to have 0 in the denominator? No, so we're going to say this is undefined. Now, in tangent, if it were a normal unit, if it were a normal angle, we would have said it's opposite over adjacent, right? TOA. But now we can't do that because our 90 degrees is on one of the axes. So what do? Instead of opposite over adjacent, we're going to do y over x. You got it. So go back to our 90-degree angle on our unit circle. Our y coordinate is 1, our x coordinate is 0. So the tangent of 90 will be 1 over 0. Once again, what is that? Undefined. And do we agree cotangent's just the reciprocal of tangent? So the cotangent.
Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. This answer is from shmoop.com.
Why is Siri listening? Be quiet. All right, the cotangent of 90 is going to be 0 over 1. Is that okay to have 0 in the numerator? Absolutely. So our cotangent of 90 will be 0. Okay, let's do a couple more problems. Okay, I want us to find the cosecant of negative 270 degrees.
Is it important to memorize CS, all those abbreviations?
Yeah. There's the cup on my desk. Do you see those? Okay, so what we want to do is we want to figure out where this is. Now we know this is 0, 360, 90, 180, 270. But be careful. This is not a positive 270. What is this? A negative 270. So we're not working clockwise. How are we working? Counterclockwise. So what does that mean? So here's our 0. We always start at 0. But then this is going to be our negative 90. This is still going to, I'm sorry, clockwise, yeah. So the positive angles work counterclockwise. The negative angles work clockwise. So this will be a negative 90. That will be a negative 180, which means this will be negative 270. So that means we are up here. Since our angle, again, is on an axis, what does that mean? We're using what? The unit circle. And what do I mean when I say the unit circle? We mean a circle with a radius of 1. So that means this is 1, 0. This is 0, 1. This is negative 1, 0. And this is 0, negative 1. So we're using this. All right, so cosecant of negative 270 will equal. Now, cosecant, isn't it the reciprocal of sine? Since cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, we know sine of an angle will be opposite over hypotenuse, which ends up being y over r. So what is cosecant going to be? R over y. So here, we're up here. No matter what, the radius is always on the unit circle. The radius is always 1. So our numerator is 1. And then our y is the y coordinate at the point we're looking at. What's the y coordinate at the point we're looking at? 1. So the cosecant of negative 270 is 1. All right, let's do one more. Okay. We want to find the sine of 1080. All right, I don't want to work with 1080, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the coterminal. Exactly, I'm going to find the coterminal angle that's the same as 1080. So we're going to keep subtracting 360 until we get to our smallest angle possible without going negative. So I have 720. I can subtract 360 again, and what do we realize? This is going to be 360, which is the same as what? 0. This is the same as 0. So then we do 360 minus 360, which would be 0 degrees. So what I'm going to do, 0 degrees, 360, no matter which way you're looking at it, is it on one of the axes? Absolutely. So I have to use the unit circle. So I'm going to go above and use the same unit circle I just had. Oh no, how do we freeze? Don't freeze. We have to finish this problem. It's the last one.
Okay.
For you guys.
Go after this, is it?
Yeah, we're done after this. We're going to work on the homework after this. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to use, try this again. There we go. So we're using the 360 which corresponds to which point? 1, 0. So now if I want the sine, we know sine is opposite over hypotenuse. But when we have to use the unit circle, or when our angle's on an axis, what is it that we have to look at it as? Not opposite over hypotenuse, but y over r. Everything's very delayed right now. All right, do we all agree our y coordinate is 0? And the radius is always 1. So what's the sine of 1080? 0. 0 degrees, just 0. And that's it. Okay, I'm stop recording because it is glitching anyway.